Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Whiskey Watch. My name's Joe. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the whiskey we're going to be drinking this week. I'm going to do one we talked about before. This one's called Balcone's Texas Rye. This can be bought fairly, I won't say easily. I don't see it every time I walk into a store by any means, but it's not one of those extremely hard to find bottles. You can usually find it in the $40 to $50 range. I think MSRP is right around 40, 45. So I've spoken about this in the past as a unique rye. Uh, I compared it to the gum in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Um, it changes. It's got a lot up front, and then like as as it rests on your palate, it's got a different kind of taste when you swallow it, a different kind of finish. It just kind of progresses. So I'm gonna swirl the ice around a little bit to try to cool it down a bit and give it our first little sip. Cheers. So immediately I get almost like a Tootsie Roll. It's almost chocolatey. Uh, and then when I swallow it down, you can taste a little bit of the rye, like the whiskey kind of taste. But then as it continues, it just changes. I mean, get a little tingle on the tongue. It's not a very high proof, so I wouldn't call it a burn, but yeah, it's 50%, so 100 proof. Um, Smooth drinker. It really is. Um, the tiniest little tingle on the tongue, um, right after right after you swallow it down, but it is super good. It's so rare to find something that has like a chocolatey taste to it. So, as I've said before, I love things that I consider unique, and this is right up there with one of the more unique pours I've ever experienced. So, as always, having some whiskey and watching something, and today it's a classic movie, one of my favorites, A League of Their Own. Uh, Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, the women's baseball. It cracks me up every time. It's a shame that John Lovitz, who plays the scout, is only in this for 10 minutes. He's absolutely hilarious. I'm at the point now where they're just dropping the girls off at Wrigley Field for tryouts, and they walk in, and he got Gina Davis and her sister, and I can never, Lori Petty, I can never remember her name right off the bat, but he picked them up on a farm. They were milking cows when he walked up to their house. So they walk out in the field. He says, "Hey, cowgirls, see the grass? Don't eat it." But he had so many good lines. But uh, I did have a couple of suggestions. People leaving some comments. I appreciate it. Thank you. Um, One comment that was made to me in person, actually, over the phone, was that we start doing ratings for what I'm drinking. Um, Not that my opinion on a 0 to 10 scale is really going to, make decisions for people. However, what I think it might help with is for some of the more novice bourbon fans, or even longtime bourbon fans, um, to realize value. Um, I've had a lot of $40 bottles, $50 bottles that I think are just as good as $80 to $100 bottles. So if you're looking for value, you might find something with the rating system. Um, like if I'm given a $40 bottle 7.5, 8 out of 10, and then you hear me talk about $100 bottle that's a 7, you know, even if it's the same rating. I mean, you really want to pay double, triple for similar quality? I don't. So that's uh that's how I kind of feel about ratings. So we're gonna keep on keeping on here. I hate to let the ice cube melt. Just running my mouth too much. Yeah, I highly recommend this bottle. I'm gonna bring it back on just so you can see it. Um, there's a lot of different Balcones out there. Um, I think this is the only one with a green label. I You can't go wrong. It is so cool. I mean, to be drinking whiskey and have it, almost taste like a Tootsie Roll. When it first hits your mouth, it's really really different, and I'm really enjoying it. I've bought a ton of these. A group of buddies, we discovered this. I can't remember who bought the first one. I don't think it was me, but it might have been. But a group of buddies that we do occasional tastings with. This was probably the biggest hit at any tasting we've ever done, just because everybody was just so wowed by it. Uh, you don't get stuff that tastes like this at a whiskey tasting because whether you're doing Japanese whiskey, American whiskey, bourbon, you know, Scotch is an animal of its own. Um, it's in a different league, different class, but the other ones all kind of have similar traits, and even a lot of ryes. You know, they're not as sweet as bourbons, but I mean, you're drinking whiskey with this. I'm telling you, I mean, other than the you know, when you initially swallow it down, like if you pop a sip into your mouth, swish it around a little bit, I get Tootsie Rolls. I mean, that's what I'm tasting is like a chocolatey kind of taste. Then when I swallow it down, it's nice and smooth. Get a little bit of that whiskey taste, but it develops so quickly, back into like I don't know, something almost sweet, you know. So whether you are a veteran who's been in the bourbon whiskey rye game for a decade or two, or somebody who just kind of wants to try something new, or even somebody who is, maybe a college student who doesn't really do whiskey, you know, is more of a beer person, vodka and mixed drinks, give this a shot. I mean, if you want to sip something that isn't too, I don't know, too much whiskey, if you're not a whiskey person, this is enough to satisfy the whiskey drinker, but it's different enough that a novice, somebody who isn't a whiskey fan, can still enjoy it. And if all else fails, the beautiful thing about whiskey is you can always do shots or mix it with some Coke, some ginger ale. So don't have to love it straight. Speaking of which, I did have one other to pull from underneath the bar. Now, everybody knows these bags. If you haven't seen the purple ones yet, this has been out for a year or two, but it's not the easiest thing to find. The Crown Royal Blackberry. Now, it's summertime, so I don't drink a lot of whiskey, especially neat, because it's just not a warm weather drink. This right here, oh boy. You mix this in lemonade, it's amazing. I went to the beach recently and filled up a Yeti with ice cubes, put about 2 shots of this in there, then filled the rest with lemonade. It was the perfect hot weather drink. So if you can get your hands on some Crown Blackberry, it's sweet. My wife, who does not like whiskey, who loves this stuff, um, she'll sip it, just on ice. Um, she more likes to mix with it. She loves the lemonade drink. Um, she puts it in Sprite. You don't want anything too powerful, but these days, I mean, Coke and Dr. Pepper are coming out with every single flavor on earth. Dr. Pepper just released a Dr. Pepper Blackberry, so I mean, I guess you can mix it with absolutely anything. But if you're looking for a good poolside beach, just hot day drink, Crown Blackberry and lemonade is phenomenal. I mean, I don't drink a lot of sweet stuff. Um, that's something on a hot day, I'm telling you, it's one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite summer drinks. So, time for a little wet the whistle. Oh, we're about to be introduced to Tom Hanks. The girls are just finding out what teams they're on, and the next scene is going to be well after they do after they do Charm School, which isn't anything special about it except for the very last line when the lady who's running the show at Charm School is going down the line, and there's a woman with a clipboard, and she's taking notes. And like they come to one girl and they'll like, the hair, soften it and shorten it, the eyes, thin and separate. There should be two, like, just saying what they need to fix about them. They get to the end and it's Marla Hooch, the second baseman. Uh, what do you suggest? She says a lot of night games. Makes me wonder if even this movie, which is fantastic, I would let my 13-year-old daughter watch it without a second thought. It makes you wonder if it would exist if it were coming out today. Just because there's too many, I don't know. What's the PC way to say it? There's too many things that might trigger somebody. It feels like there's always something that's going to trigger somebody in everything. But shows and movies these days tend to be a little bit more careful. Makes me wonder if this movie would have ever even gotten made. And it is awesome. Makes me sad to think of it not existing because somebody's feelings might have been hurt by some of the jokes. Now here he is, Jimmy Dugan, one of my favorite Hanks characters. I mean, Forrest Gump was, obviously Forrest Gump, and he's done a lot of other good movies, but Tom Hanks really shows his comedic genius in this movie, playing the old drunk former baseball player who fell out of a hotel when he says he had to retire because he hurt his knee. And the owner says, "You fell out of a hotel. That's how you hurt it." So we're in the thick of summer. The thick of summer. That's, yeah, great job, Joe. The thick of summer here, and it is just boiling hot. I'm hearing about heat, and I live in the South, like I've said before, in North Carolina, but I'm hearing about crazy heat even up north. There was a soccer game recently in St. Louis. They had to take hydration breaks because of the heat and humidity. I have friends in Ohio and Western New York. We're just talking about how brutal it is. So it's crazy. So no matter where you are, solid chance if you're in the U.S., you're dealing with some heat. And I am the type of person who sweats year round. I can be in an ice cold house, air conditioning cranking, or it could be the dead of winter, and I sweat if I think too hard. So put me in the southern heat in July. It's my brother said it best during his best man speech at my wedding. When he referred to me as a sweat factory. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, he's made a few good jokes at my expense. It's the perils of having an older brother. There's lots of benefits, of course. For example, the first thing I always think of, I think everybody probably in the back of their head has a story about a birthday or a Christmas, first time you got that bike or video game system or whatever it may be. Mine was Christmas of 1992. Uh, my brother, I was just shy of 13 years old. My brother's 7 years older than me, 7.5 to the day, actually. So he was about to, I mean, I think he just turned 19 or 20. And he got me, it was a big poster board that he drew on to make it look like a ticket. And he took me to the Buffalo Bills playoff game On January 3rd, I want to say 1993. So Christmas of 92. And I had been to a preseason game once, but I've never been to a meaningful game, not even regular season, definitely not playoffs. And this turned out to be the miracle comeback game where the Bills were down 28-3 at halftime to the Houston Oilers, as when Warren Moon was the quarterback there. And then we come out for halftime, and the Bills throw an interception, and next thing you know, it's 35-3. So you're down 32 points in the second half of a playoff game. There's no coming back from that. A lot of fans start making their way to the exits. So, well, as the as everyone knows who follows football, the Bills lost 4 straight Super Bowls, so they couldn't have lost this game. Um, the comeback starts like almost immediately after 35-3. It becomes 35-10, and then 35-17. A lot of the fans who started to leave at 35-3 didn't even make it out of the stadium. By the time they fought the crowds and walked down the stairs and the ramps and whatever else, didn't even make it out of the stadium before it was a game again. It's 35-17, like halfway through the third quarter. I mean, what the hell happened, right? So started coming back, and a lot who did get out were like begging security to let them back in, but no entry, no reentry at NFL games. So eventually, I've heard that they started letting people back in. So, but it sure felt like it, because by the time that game was over, that place felt full. I'll tell you. The Bills came all the way back to make it to take I think they took a 38-35 lead, or maybe they were down 35-31, because I know Houston ended up kicking a field goal toward the end of the fourth. I don't remember if the Bills had the lead and then Houston tied it to force overtime, or if Houston kicked a field goal to go and the Bills scored to tie it. I don't recall. But I recall with absolute remarkable accuracy after the game. So again, I'm just shy of 13 years old. We're sitting in the upper deck around the 30, 35 yard line. So pretty good seats. Think upper deck, think, oh, you're up in the nosebleeds. I mean, if you're sitting between the 20s and the upper deck, you can see everything. I mean, it's a great view up there. So we're about 20, 30 rows up. I don't remember exactly. All I know is that by the time my feet hit the ground, after we won that game, after Steve Christie hit the game-winning field goal to win that game 41-38 in overtime, I was jumping and hugging and high-fiving, and I ended up literally crowd riding. Like I started hugging somebody who was sitting in the row in front of me, and ended up falling onto them, and then kind of tumbling slash crowd riding over rows of people. When my feet hit the ground, I looked up and I had to climb back up 4 rows to get back to my brother. So it was just amazing. And then we're walking out, and if you've never been to the Bill Stadium, it's the current stadium. This coming season's the last year in the stadium. The new stadium is almost done. But if you've never been, it's kind of in ground. So if you're sitting at field level, you're basically underground. If you're sitting at mid level, you're basically sitting ground level, and the upper deck is only basically one story up. So if you're sitting in the very last row, super high, it looks further to get down to the field than it does if you look over the back to get out, down to the ground. So there's a ramp that kind of goes down and then turn and down again. It's just a downhill ramp, right? And we get to the last part, and there's railings, and there's snow everywhere. It's Buffalo in January. And my brother leads the charge. He stands up on the railing. Mind, he's 19, 20 years old. So he stands up on the railing and says, "Let's take this hill." And he jumps over the railing and just slides down on his butt through the snow to the bottom. And of course, everybody follows suit. I mean, I'm first because he's my ride, but he's also my brother. I'm going to do anything he does. So I jump over and go down, and I get about halfway down the hill, and of course he beat me there because he was the one who started it. And he's in a 3 point stance just waiting to drill me. And as soon as I get within range, he just lunges at me and tackles me, and we're rolling in the snow as all these Bills fans who were sitting in the upper deck are seeing, saw him, saw me, saw our friends, and they all start sliding down the hill in celebration. It was one of the cooler memories I have. So, and I have a lot of them. But yeah, that's my red bike, Atari, Nintendo, Xbox, on Christmas morning. That's my biggest memory. Sorry, mom and dad, you've done great. I did get that red bike when I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. I still remember it. It was a Huffy. I did get the Nintendo when Nintendo was new. Came with the Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, so you got the gun. Yeah, uh, you did great, mom and dad. I love you, but it's hard for a Bills fan like me to not think of that memory as just like the one that sticks with me forever. Plus, I was like 5, 6, 7 years old when I got my bike and my Nintendo. It's when I was almost 13. It's easy to remember. Salute to my family. I feel like I gotta shout out my sister. I feel bad. I did. I'm talking about my brother. I had mentioned my parents. I got the best big sister you can ask for. Me and my brother both moved away. I live in North Carolina. My brother lives in Ohio. My sister still lives in the Buffalo area where my parents are. So she does it all. Whenever mom and dad need something, Karen does it. Whenever someone gets sick, she takes care of them. So she makes it easy for us. Drunken ice cube and no more juice. So as I always say, when the whiskey's gone, it's time to move on. Hope everybody has a great day, and see you again next time.